I am so excited you are here watching this video. This is one of my most requested videos, how to read the natal chart. How do I understand astrology? I get so many times, mostly from my friends and family, Meredith, I don't understand astrology. I don't even know where to begin. Well, begin right here. I'm going to break it down and make it so easy for you to learn how to read your natal chart, how to understand astrology. And I'm going to take you step by step by step, and I'm going to hold your hand. It's going to be fun and exciting. Now listen, if you're already an advanced student or you feel like, oh, I'm already pretty knowledgeable about astrology, well, this would still be a really good video for you to watch all the way through, because in this, I give a little bit of a new spin on new techniques that maybe you haven't considered, or maybe you've been doing it differently. So I went and watched a couple people's videos, and I just gave kind of a cursory glance, and I didn't find a video quite like the one I'm going to do today. I also found a lot of wrong information out there. I can't believe it. So in this one video, this person says that if you have a prominent amount of planets on the right-hand side of the chart when you're looking at it, well, that means your life is just a blank slate and you get to make it up. And if you have a lot of your planets on the left-hand side, well, then you don't have much choice and your life is fated for you. What the heck? No, it does not mean that. Being honest with you, it really does not mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. You want to listen to this video so you get honest information, accurate information. I've been an evolutionary astrologer for 23 years, and one thing I won't be doing is giving you a lot of wrong information. I want you to understand astrology, and I want you to be able to read your natal chart. I want you to be able to start learning this language and how to synthesize it. Now, I'm not going to be able to teach you every single thing, but I am going to give you 10 techniques on where to start and how to start. The other thing I want to say is I'm not going to be able to tell you what everything means, not in this video, but I'll be making a series, and you can go to my part 2, my part 3, and my next videos, and you can continue the learning. So with that, let's dive in. I want you to open up your natal chart, and hopefully you bought your natal chart, your gorgeous natal chart, and it looks something like this from my shop. You can click the link in the notes below in order to order your gorgeous natal chart from me. And the reason why I like my chart over any other chart that you're going to buy on the internet is because I give you a little cheat sheet with mine. And I also make it really easy to find the degrees, the house cusps, the out of bounds planets, the lunations, your mean node, your true node. And I give you a ton of info. You can read the little boxes if you need help understanding the glyphs. I just think this is the most invaluable tool that you will have in your astrology arsenal. Use it while you watch this video. I want you to go and get your notebook. And hopefully your notebook is pink and glittery like mine. And in your notebook, I want you to write down my 10 instructions and what you have in those placements. And let's learn astrology. Let's peel the onion. Let's unzip you and figure out the blueprint of your soul. You know that the natal chart tells me over 40,000 different things about you, right? Well, today we're going to learn 10 of those things. We got to start somewhere. Learning astrology is not easy. It really is not easy. It took me 8 years of learning astrology at night school for me to become a professional astrologer. So it's not something that you can learn in just a week or so, but I am going to make it as easy as I can for you today to at least be able to read your own chart. So let's start with step 1. Step 1, I want to talk about the pattern inside the circle. There are lots of patterns. There are probably over 22 different kinds of patterns, but I'm going to talk about the 3 most prominent ones. And I want you to take note to see if you have one of these 3 most prominent patterns in your chart. And if you don't, then skip this step. But if you do, take note and write it down on your piece of paper. The first one is, I want to know if you have a bundle or a bowl. And that means, do you have all of your planets in their respective signs between just 3 different signs in your chart? That's a bundle. Or 5 different signs, that's a bowl. So if that's what your chart looks like, where it's tightly compressed, all your planets are tightly compressed, just over 3 different signs or 5 different signs, that's a bundle or a bowl. And I could do a whole video on this, and I might do a whole video on patterns. If you guys want me to, just leave a note in the comments below and let me know if you're interested in learning about patterns. So if you have a bundle or a bowl, it means you are a high focus person. You focus very intently on the things that you care about, and you probably probably are not a very scattered person, but you probably have a depth about you and you go into the things that you are passionate about laser-like. Okay, the second one that I want to talk about is if everything is just splashed all throughout the whole chart. And if you have almost every single house in your chart, you have 12 houses. If you have almost every single one of your houses with planets in them. If you have a big splay or a splash, it means that you have a very dynamic life and you are probably going in 1,000 directions and you probably put your energy into a lot of different things. You're working in the multiverse. Now, the third most important chart pattern for the purposes of this video is the seesaw, and that is if you have a lot of oppositions. So if you have half of your chart over here and half of your chart over here, and the planets are in direct opposition of one another. That's called the seesaw. And that creates a lot of emotional tension because it's having you lean one way and then the next way and then the one way. And so there's a lot of conflicting energies in this chart. So you're probably doing two opposite things or feeling two opposite things at the same time. And it creates a lot of diversity and complexity. So take note if you have one of those particular patterns. Let's talk about the second step. The second step is, what is your rising sign? What is your ascendant? And you will find your ascendant right here. I want you to also take note of the degree that is on your ascendant and memorize that degree. That degree will become very, very important. And then I want you to, whatever rising sign you have, I want you to listen to that video, which correlates to your rising sign on my YouTube channel. Now, my rising sign series is very, very deep. It comes with a warning label, and each one of those videos in its own way is kind of like tough information to hear because I give it to you raw and real. Now, listen to me. There's a little trick here, and I want you to learn something. If you have a very late degree rising sign, like 27, 28, or 29, or an early degree rising sign, like 0, 1, or 2, I want you to double check your birth time, and you don't have to write the hospital or even go look it up. If you have a late degree rising sign, go double check your rising sign by watching the video on my channel for the sign that follows your rising sign. In my gorgeous natal chart, if you don't even know the order of the zodiac, you will find the order here. So if you're a late degree Aries, I want you to also watch my Taurus rising video. If you are a late degree Taurus, I want you to watch my Gemini rising video. And also, of course, the Taurus rising. And I want you to watch both of them and see which one resonates with you. If you are an early rising sign, like a 0, 1, or 2 degree rising sign, I want you to watch also the video that is behind your sign in the zodiac. And then I want you to compare and I want you to see which one you most feel like. Now, when I was born, my birth time was not calculated. And the time my mother gave me put my rising sign as Virgo. Once I started studying astrology, I absolutely unequivocally knew that Virgo was not an accurate rising sign for me. I absolutely knew it. So I had to rectify my own chart, and I did it through research. The rising sign moves so quickly. It moves about a degree every 4 to 7 minutes. And so your rising sign could truly be wrong, especially if it's super late or super early. If your rising sign is wrong, it's going to change all 12 house positions. And so it really matters. Your planets probably won't change, your houses will. The next thing you need to do inside the second step is we absolutely have to figure out the ruler of your chart. And your chart ruler is prominent, powerful, and big. It is the big generator in your chart. So I want you to think about all of the electricity and the energy that is poured into your house. Imagine that that energy comes from a generator. Well, that's what your ruling planet does for your chart, for your life, for your soul. You are not just one thing. And if you know me, I'm Meredith. I'm your evolutionary astrologer, and we don't do sun sign astrology. We do deep astrology here. We keep it raw, we keep it real, truthful, transparent, and authentic. And you are an amalgamation of all of the signs. Now, how they play out in your own chart, in your own life is different, and it is uniquely you. And that's why there's no two Sagittariuses that are the same, and there's no two Cancers that are the same. And that's why when skeptics start talking to me about, oh, well, I'm a Cancer, you're a Cancer, we couldn't be more different. Well, that's because we look at the whole entire chart. And your chart ruler is going to be one of the things that makes you so unique and so different. Let me give you a minute to see and find your chart ruler from this list. It would be a great idea also for you to memorize this list, because when you meet a person and they tell you what sun sign they are, you will know what planet you're speaking to. So are you speaking to a Mars person? Are you speaking to a Pluto person? Are you speaking to a Venus person? Are you speaking to a Mercury person? Are you speaking to a Jupiter person, right? And once you get to know the different facets and meanings of these different planets, you will be so phenomenal at interacting with people and doing relationships instantaneously. You will be sort of an instantaneous genius when you get the person who you are communicating with and what the ruler of their sun is. Now we're talking about the ruler of their rising sign, and that's harder to do with strangers because you're not going to walk around asking people their birth times. Stick with me on my channel and you will come to learn deeply what all these different planets mean. Take note, signs have planetary rulers, okay? Some signs have two rulers, and it's important that you take note where those two rulers are in your chart if you're one of the signs that has two rulers. You kind of have a captain and a co-captain running your chart, and so there's a little bit more complexity to those particular signs. Now, what I want you to do is write down not only what your rising sign is, with the chart ruler, write that down. And then I want you to find the video on my channel that correlates to the house in which your chart ruler is in. Now, my video is mostly about the sun sign. In this case, it doesn't matter. Just go listen to it and think about this as this is the house that my chart ruler, my generator, is the boss of and is coming to my rising sign from. So this planet and this house become a giant life force energy in the way that you do your ascendant. And what does doing your ascendant mean? It means in the way that you approach life. Your ascendant shows me what you physically look like, how you say hello to the world, and how you step into the world. That house is the critical energy about your life. Now, it's not always a house that you want, but it's going to tell you about your cause and your mission in this lifetime. It's going to show me how you do your rising sign, and you're going to add that layer into your rising sign. So if you only know that you're a Sag rising, but you don't know that you're a Sag rising with the chart ruler, that's the ascendant's ruler in the 12th house, we can't know you very well. But now that I know that your chart ruler's in the 12th house, I know that you're all about 12th house things, which is deeply mystical and deeply spiritual. I know you're a very deep person, and I know that you're far more sensitive. You're sensitive towards other people as well. So I know that you have a lot of compassion. And if I know that at hello, I'm not going to treat you just like you're a sports fanatic Sagittarius high-fiving dude with a baseball cap backwards, right? Because your chart ruler, the ruler of your whole chart, the ruler of your ascendant, is Jupiter in Sagittarius in the 12th house. So I know the deeper questions of life really matter to you. So I'm going to start my hello to you with something more like, doesn't today have a little bit of magic in the air, rather than, hey, what did you think about those 49ers crushing the Seahawks, right? That would be probably a 5th or a 9th house Sagittarius. Let's keep going. The third step, we got to look now to your sun sign. Do you find it funny that I didn't look to your sun sign first? Well, your rising sign shows me how you look, how you approach hellos, how you create new impressions, how you step outside your front door, and how you're going to interact with me. Your rising sign is the wrapping paper on the gift underneath the Christmas tree. Your sun sign is the gift. I want you to go look at your sun sign. How you're going to find your sun sign is, if you don't know what it looks like, you can look on my gorgeous natal chart and you can see all the glyphs. So I want you to see your sun sign by house, by sign, and by degree. We're going to write it down. The next thing I want you to do as a subset to the third step is I want you to see if there are any other planets attached, connected, sitting next to, within 10 degrees going forward or after. Remember that each sign has 30 degrees. So when the degrees get to 29 degrees, 59 minutes, it turns to the next sign. And it goes to 0 degrees in the next sign. So when you count forward, you need to take that into account. The reason why it's important to notice if you have any conjunctions, and that's planets that are within 10 degrees of your sun sign, is because those planets become Siamese twins. They become literally enmeshed into your sun sign, and they become a piece of your identity so deeply. It's as if I took this glass of water and I put blue food coloring in it, and then I put red food coloring in it. Think of the water as my sun sign. So now I have blue and red food coloring in here, which is turned to purple, right? You following me? Then I ask you to take the purple out. You can't do it. The purple, the two planets, becomes identified with the water, and they are enmeshed. And that's what happens when you have a conjunction. And that changes the sun sign dramatically, because purple water is not clear water. They're totally different. But I want you to know that it is absolutely critical to understand the meaning of the planets that sit on your sun. And some people have 5 planets. Those are the bundles, right? Some people have no planets. That means their sun is all by itself, and its identity is in that pure energy of that sign. So tell me right now below, what planets do you have conjunct your sun? And those planets act as twins or Siamese twins. They are fully enmeshed into your sun sign. Now listen, if you've got something at 9 degrees or 1 degrees, it is kind of like the color of a hue. So let's use the color red. If you've got something at 10 degrees, the red might look a little bit more like a pink hue. If you've got something at 1 degree away from your sun sign, the color could be cherry red, right? So it gets more intense the closer it is to your sun sign. Okay, this third step has numerous parts to it. So now that you know that we add forwards and backwards, and remember the sign in front and the sign behind, it can switch signs when you do your math by 10. I want you to look at that sun sign, and I want you to see if the degree of your sun sign is within 10 degrees forward or 10 degrees behind your rising sign. And if it is, it makes an aspect. Now, we don't know what kind of aspect yet, but we do know that that means your sun, your identity, your soul is in conversation with your presentation, with your ascendant. So if your soul and your ascendant are in alignment with one another, your life uses both of those components in a very dramatic way to get your way, to get life on your terms. Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about aspects not deeply, but briefly. This is where I really want to invite you. If you are fascinated with how to read your natal chart, I can't stress enough for you to just go buy my class. I think it's $19, and I will put the link in the notes below. You get to keep the link for a lifetime, and you get to watch it over and over and over. And I show you an example how to do all these steps. Now, I go in a little different order because that class is really intense. I think it's almost 2 hours long, but I go into the meaning of each one of these. And in this, I'm just trying to give you enough technique to be able to use resources out there in the world to know signs and planets you need to study for your chart personally. So let's talk briefly about aspects. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm not going to do semi-sextiles and quintiles and quincunxes and biquintiles or any of that. I'm just going to do the main ones, okay? So if you have a more obscure aspect, please know it is still important, but I just can't address them all because this isn't an aspect video, and we're only on step 3. We got 7 more to go. So stick with me. You're going to learn so much. Now, the aspect in which your sun makes to your rising sign tells me so much about your life. Oh my God. And if you're capable of figuring out this step, you can do this step between every single planet you have with another planet in your chart. Memorize how to do this because this is the formula, this is the calculation that you're going to do for every single one of your planets. But for this video, we're just going to do this with the sun and the moon. So I'm going to give you a cheat sheet, and I'm going to give you a shortcut, and I'm going to show you how you can figure out your aspects like that. It's magic. The first thing I want to say is if your sun is compatible or in a happy aspect with your rising sign, it tells me that you have an ability to get life fairly easily on your own terms. It tells me that you like yourself. It tells me that you probably like your life. It tells me that you probably don't want to trade out yourself for anybody. It tells me that you can learn how to navigate the world. You can learn how to navigate your soul's desires with what the world wants to give you. Now, I'm not saying you just get, 5-star treatment anywhere you go. That's far from the truth. I know deep down inside that there is a synchronicity with your own self and how you approach the world. I know that you know how to get doors open, and I know you know how to get yeses in the world. Now, if your sun is in challenge aspect to your rising sign, it doesn't mean that your life is bad or miserable. It means you will learn how to overcome challenges. You will learn how to find the loopholes. You will know how to think outside of the box. You will know how to take on a challenge, and you will know how to turn no's into yeses. You will become resilient, strong, resistant, and probably very resourceful. But you are going to have to push your doors open and use some muscle. Now, one is not worse than the other. It's kind of like a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder doesn't get their abdomen for free. They have to go into the gym every day and challenge themselves and lift more weight today than they lifted yesterday in order to build muscle and build strength. That might be you. You might have to exercise in order to get what you want. You might need to push a little bit harder. We consider sun conjunctions to the ascendant, only to the ascendant, okay? It gets far more complicated later. Not every conjunction to the sun is positive, but a sun in conjunction to the ascendant is considered positive. And that means your sun sits either 10 degrees behind or 10 degrees in front of, within 10 degrees behind and within 10 degrees in front of your ascendant. We consider that positive. We also consider sextile aspects positive. And how you can remember sextiles, if your sun and your rising sign, if one is a fire sign and the other is an air sign, that is sextile. And then you have to count the degrees, of course. So if you have a sextile, if your sun is in sextile to your ascendant, but it's not within those 10 degrees, then it does not make an aspect. It does get along with one another by sign, but not by aspect. So it's not actually having direct line of communication, but they are two energies that understand each other. While fire signs are compatible with air signs and air signs are compatible in a happy aspect to fire signs, earth signs are compatible to water signs and water signs are compatible to earth signs. Now, there's one exception, and you need to remember this exception. And what I would love for you to do is memorize oppositions. Memorize these oppositions: Aries to Libra, Taurus to Scorpio, Gemini to Sag, Cancer to Capricorn, Leo to Aquarius, and Virgo to Pisces. Memorize those. Those are the opposites. When you get an opposition, it's not a sextile. There is going to be one opposition per element. So for example, Sagittarius gets along with air signs, Libra and Aquarius, but its opposition is Gemini. So that is considered a challenging aspect, okay? So you need to memorize those oppositions because those oppositions are now no longer sextiles. Fire likes air and air likes fire, except for oppositions. And water likes earth and earth likes water, except for oppositions. You might have an opposition, which is considered a challenging aspect. Okay, so now you guys know the conjunctions, you know the sextiles, you know the oppositions. Now I want you to know the trines. The trines are positive, and that's basically all earth signs like earth signs, all fire signs like fire signs, all air signs like air signs, and all water signs like water signs. So they get along. And if they're within those 10 degrees between the sun and the ascendant, so if you have a 0 degree Capricorn sun and you have a 9 degree Virgo ascendant, well, we know that makes a glorious, gorgeous trine. So in the comments below, let me know, does your sun sign make an aspect to your rising sign? And if it does by degree, but I didn't mention the aspect, well, then you have a minor aspect. And it's still important. I'm just not going to go into that part in this video. And if you guys want me to do an aspects video where I talk about all the aspects, I will. Just leave me a note below. And if I get enough people interested in it, I'll do it. So there's one last hard aspect, and that is the square. And now we're going to talk about the modality. It's really easy. I'll give you a cheat sheet again. Mutable signs are square to one another. So we have 4 mutable signs. The mutable signs are going to be in hard aspect to one another. They're either going to be opposite or they're going to be square. So let's take Virgo. It's mutable. It's opposite to Pisces. You already know that. And it's going to be square to the other two mutable signs, Gemini and Sagittarius. Libra is opposite to Aries, but it is going to be square to Capricorn and Cancer. And Aquarius is opposite to Leo, but it is going to be square to the other fixed signs, Scorpio and Taurus. So you can do that with each one. So the mutable signs are Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius. The cardinal signs are Libra, Aries, Capricorn, and Cancer. And the fixed signs are Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus. So if you can figure out which one is opposite to the other, then you know the other two are always square to it. Go back, rewind that, and listen to what I just said. If you know your oppositions, you can do so much with astrology. Understanding your sun's relationship to the ascendant by aspect, by sign, and degree is so critical because it's going to show us who you are in the world. And are you supporting yourself, or are you a little bit in challenge? Is what you want in the world going to be challenged, or is what you want in the world going to come like with more ease and more synchronicity? Now, I promise you one thing, having glorious, wonderful sun ascendant aspects does not lead to a better life. If you have a square or an opposition, it does not lead to a worse life. I promise you. It just shows me, it shows you how you go about getting the things you want in the world. And I have found people that get things easily usually get really messed up. Please don't buy into the idea your life is going to be terrible if you have hard aspects. It's not true. You're going to build character and integrity, and you're going to have to develop in a different way. Let's talk about the fourth step. Is your sun in a day chart or a night chart? This really matters. And if you guys want me to do a whole entire video on this, I will, because a day chart and a night chart is really, really important. And I'm going to tell you a couple secret things here. So listen to this. If your sun is above the horizon, that means above the ascendant and the descendant right here, above this line, it is a day chart. If your sun is below, it means it's a night chart. If your sun is below, it means you are a subjective thinker. If it is above, it means you're an objective thinker. So a subjective thinker is, how does this affect me and my world? And it's as if you see the world through the lens in which you developed. And if you have a day chart, it means you see the world through a more objective lens, a universal societal lens. What does society say? So I also want to say, if you have a night chart, you probably really relate very, very deeply to your moon sign. And if you have a day chart, you probably relate very much to your sun sign. Your hardest planet in a night chart is Saturn, where your most difficult planet in a day chart is Mars. If you have a day chart, Jupiter is going to have extra strength and play a stronger, more important, beneficial role in your life. And if you have a night chart, it's Venus. Now, I can go way more deeply into all of that if you guys want me to, but I just want you to know your benefics and your malefic planets and what are they doing by sign, by house, and by aspect. So you need to know, should I be looking to Saturn or to Mars to tell my hardship story? Should I be looking at Jupiter or Venus to see how I'm getting my blessings? Which one is going to be stronger and more influential? Isn't it exciting? Don't you love learning? Don't you love this? Also, I want to tell you, if you want to learn more, you want to go get your gorgeous natal chart, that's great. But I really recommend you get the starter package because you get the gorgeous natal chart, but then you get my deep dive natal report that goes with it, and it helps support the channel. If you love our work, if you love what we're doing, then that's a great way to help invest in us a little bit. Also, if you've already gotten that, I really recommend you get your soul's design report. It is so good, and it goes more deeply into the houses, and you will love it. You will love it. You will love it. So you could get your natal chart a la carte, and you could get your soul's design report if you wanted to get a little different look and a little different report because you've already gotten your other one. It will help you so much, and you are going to learn so much about your life. This is going to be so awe-inspiring, and I can't wait to to hear how much you are learning. Leave me a comment below and let me know if you're learning a lot from my channel. I love having you here and learning right alongside me. And if you want more advanced techniques, look at my masterclass that I teach. It's called Advanced Techniques in Reading the Natal Chart. It's basically another deeper version of what I'm doing with you right now. And you get to keep the link for life. Okay, the fifth step, it's basically what we did for the sun. Did you guys write down the day or night chart? And if you should look to Mars, Saturn, Venus, or Jupiter, that's important. Now, your moon sign. You got to go find your moon. And if you don't know what the moon glyph is, it's in my gorgeous natal chart. You can see it over here. And I want you to do the same thing that you did for your sun and your ascendant, but you're going to look at the moon by house and by degree. And then I want you to look and see if your moon makes any aspects to your rising sign, the same way you did with the sun sign. And go back to the aspects part of this video if you forget. Basically, this is going to tell us so much about your emotional world. Does your moon with your ascendant make you feel safe showing up in the world? That's the positive aspects. I want to know, does your heart feel okay being exposed? Do you walk into the room and is your hello a big, giant, generous, hi, give me a hug, tell me how mwah, mwah, mwah you are, how are you? Yeah, that is a moon in happy aspect to the ascendant. Okay. So, or are you shy and reserved and you're like, hi, nice to meet you? Yeah, that's a moon that doesn't feel very safe. It's guarded. It's protective. It has a little self-defense to it. Also, look at the sun aspect to the moon aspect and tell me, is it in challenge degree? Is it in challenge aspect? Is it in opposition? That's a challenge. Is it in conjunction? And one of the things that I love about my gorgeous natal chart is because I tell you your moon phase. It's very important that you understand the moon phase in your chart. I'm going to give you 3 secret little tips, but what I want you to do is once you understand your moon phase, I want you to go and watch my moon series playlist, and I want you to go watch my part 1 and my part 2 videos around the moon phases and go find your moon phase that I talk about. It's all time-stamped. I want you to go learn about your moon phase. Your moon phase tells you so much about your emotional makeup. Why are you melancholy? Why are you optimistic? Why are you gullible? Why do you express easily? Why do you not express easily, right? Now I'm going to give you 3 little tips and tricks. If you don't know how to figure out what your moon phase is, I give it to you in the gorgeous natal chart. But sometimes you can clearly see that there's a conjunction. You can clearly see that there's a full moon. It is a very big deal if you are born under a full moon. And a full moon is 180 degrees. It's an opposition, but of course you're going to do 10 degrees before and 10 degrees after. It's actually bigger than that, but just to eye it, I want to give you that as a little trick. The phase is bigger than those 10 degrees, but if you have one of my gorgeous natal charts, it will just tell you down below. If you see a chart with a full moon, it is a very, very, very big deal because it's going to automatically tell me. And this is why I put this as one of my top 10 steps. I mean, it's one of the first things I look at, and it's because is the moon phase. And if it's a full moon, I'm just like, oh my God, because I know this person has suffered emotional loss, emotional heartache, and they have felt like they have lost their heart at some point in their life. A full moon baby is somebody who will probably over the course of their life learn the truth about life, learn the truth about their life, and be deeply illuminated in life. But it comes through the doorway of losses, of challenges. Now that's when the sun and the moon are in opposite to one another. And if you are a full moon baby, please, please go watch my moon series and go watch the video where I talk about being born under a full moon. Now, the new moon is also a really big deal. And the new moon is when the moon is in front of, so a higher degree or the next sign in front of, not behind, but in front of. If you have a 0 degrees Pisces moon and you have a 29 degree Aquarius sun, well, the moon is in front of the sun. And so that is a new moon, even though those are 2 different signs. So if the moon is at a higher degree or the next sign over, then the sun within 10 degrees, that is a new moon, and that is critical. That is like rocket fuel. That has the most pop, the most power, the most energy, and it takes on an Aries-like quality, and it is critical. So I look for that kind of moon. If you are born under a new moon, please go watch my video in my moon series. You got to look in the timestamps for what does it mean to be born with a new moon. So the third type of moon I look for is a balsamic moon, and that looks like a new moon, but it's not, because it's when the moon is behind the sun by degree or by sign within 10 degrees. Now, it goes a little bit farther than that. It really actually goes to like 30 degrees, but the closer it is, the more intense it is. So if you have the moon behind the sun, it is a balsamic moon. And if you have the moon directly behind the sun, it's called the dark moon. And I speak about both of those at great length also in my moon series. And I really, really want you to go watch those videos. It's critical to you. You just absolutely have to have it, because that aspect probably trumps all aspects in your chart, to be honest with you. The full moon, if you have one, the balsamic moon, and the new moon. Those are just like rock star on steroids, and what kind of rock star are you going to be? Guns N' Roses, Scorpions, Pat Benatar. Who are you going to be? I'm a Gen Xer. Justin Bieber. Who's your rock star? Tell me that in the comments below. I'm going to be Axl Rose. Alice Cooper lived down the street from me when I was a little girl. Do you guys know that? Alice Cooper. Who here even knows who Alice Cooper is? And if you don't know who Alice Cooper is, I want you to do sidebar, Google, and go look at Alice Cooper. Yeah, he was the first. That guy grew up in my neighborhood. He was older than me. So by the time I went to high school, he was already graduated from my high school, if he graduated. But yeah, he lived in my neighborhood in Arizona. Not joking. Interesting fun facts about Meredith. You got to write down your moon phase. And if you have other phases, go learn about them. You can learn about all the different phases of the moon. And that's the moon in relationship to the sun. You can go learn all about them. I have every phase on there. I have a phase that's kind of a hard phase, but my sun and moon are by sign and by degree in happy aspect to one another. But the phase, ironically, is kind of tough. Show me that you're learning. Show me that you get it. Show me that you know what I'm talking about and that it's clicking for you, right? Like, is it all clicking? Are you guys with me? Have I lost you? I know some people say it's just too hard. I don't want it to be too hard. I want to make this easy for you. And you might need to do this video in bite-sized pieces, but definitely keep this video, keep watching it. And if you guys would do me a favor, like it, comment on it, and share it. I don't care. Share it with yourself so you have it everywhere you go, because it helps the algorithm and my channel is growing. I'm so excited, and I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. I hope I can. Every like you give me, I'm so grateful. It helps me so much. Oh, and I also want to tell you, if you want to become a member, you should. I'm having a members only party. Yay! It's going to be so much fun. And you got to get a ticket from my shop, but please, please come if you are a member, because I do these for you. And it's going to be on the last day of this month on 3/31. So March 31st. If you're a superstar, super supporter, it is totally free. If you are a superstar, it's only $4.99. Woo! I think you can afford it. I want to see your beautiful, gorgeous face. Get dressed up for me. Come show your face. It's going to be at 2:00 Pacific time. I can't wait to meet you. I'm giving away prizes, free readings, charts, free reports. We are going to laugh our butts off, and we're going to learn a lot about astrology. Also, if you're a member, you get all of my extended content. So what I'm going to do in my next video for members only is I'm going to go into the difference between day charts and night charts and what it really means. So look for that content, because it's going to be exciting. Okay, we're on the 6th step. This one's easy. I want you to look at your chart, and I want you to see if there are any planets that are at the 0, 15, or 29th degree. And then please go watch the video that I did that talks about these critical degrees, because it is so important to understand. Your journey is a little bit different if you have for the planets that you have at 0, 15, and 29 degrees. And if you have the 29th degree prominently in your chart, you have to go watch that video. There are so few astrologers. As a matter of fact, I haven't even found any that talk about the 29th degree. I don't know why, but I've been studying the 29th degree for a long time. It just never fails me. Wow. Tonight I did a reading for a father and a daughter, 16-year-old daughter, and they had their Mercuries in opposite signs, both at 29 degrees. I was like, whoa, that is cray cray. I have never seen, that is like soul connection. Wowzer, wowzer, wowzer. So I usually find magic in the chart, like unique magic, but that was crazy. Tell me if you have the 29th degree, the 0 degree, the 15th degree, and then go watch that video and learn all about the power of that, because it is critical. absolutely critical for you to understand. And if you have a 29-degree rising sign, that's where I really want you to watch the rising sign in the next sun sign to see if you really are a 29-degree rising sign. And I don't like giving anybody a 29-degree rising sign who like really didn't ask for it. Let's don't pass that rising sign out if the person didn't genuinely ask for it. Double check your rising if it's at 29 degrees. 7th step, let's go. Do you have any personal planets in retrograde? That's really important to know. And remember that retrograde planets go within, so they don't go without. I was born with Jupiter in retrograde. What does that mean? That means my spirituality, my belief system is kind of private. It's kind of in me to excavate for it. It's not just on blast. Even though I do put my astrology on blast, it took me like 17 years or something. I can't remember, 14 or 17 years to come out of the closet with it. I was doing it quietly in my home, one-on-one, day in and day out. I never thought of getting on YouTube. This is like, wow, if you would have told me this would be my life, I would have been like, what? So what planets do you have in retrograde? And if you have Saturn in retrograde, that's a big deal. And so that's about the authority in your life or the father in your life. And maybe you having to become your own parent, becoming your own authority, your own father, or not knowing your father. If you have Venus in retrograde, I have a whole video on Venus in retrograde. And if you have Mars, if you were born with Mars in retrograde, your energy goes inward. So your retrograde planets are really important to understand. Now, you must know that the sun and the moon never go retrograde. And if you have outer planets like Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, retrograde, that doesn't count because they go retrograde for half of the year. So we don't count those. But if you have Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. 8th step. Now, this is the difference between an evolutionary astrologer and all the others. I study the nodes. Sometimes all I have to do is look at your nodal story, and I can tell you more about yourself than I can with your sun and your moon. Where are the nodes in your chart, and what the hell are they doing? They will tell you your karmic story. Your karmic story. And if you want the very best book on the nodes, just go to my Amazon shop and you can just click the link in the bio. If you click my link tree, you'll get my links to everything. But go to my Amazon shop and I tell you the best books, my Bible, the one I live and breathe by, are in that store. And you can just purchase that book directly from my shop. I organize the best astrology books for you. So if you really want to learn astrology, you can just click on my link tree and it will take you to my Amazon store. You go there and I have it all chosen for you. And you can get your ephemeris and your aspect finder, which I showed you in my last video. Here's the ephemeris that you want. You'll find all my books there, my selection, I should say. The nodes are critical, and evolutionary astrologers put a really, really great importance on these nodes. That's why it makes it into the top, 10 steps of what I look at. The south node is going to tell me about your past life, and the north node is going to tell me about your next lifetime. And if you just want to watch a video on the nodes, like what the hell are these nodes and what is she talking about? Well, if you go to my YouTube channel and you click on the live tab, you can go watch my videos on the nodes. So the south node is going to show me the energy in which you already came from, the energy in which you mastered. And the north node is going to tell me who you are becoming in this lifetime and what this lifetime's main theme is about for you. What are you here to learn? How will you evolve? How are you supposed to evolve? This is what I want to tell you about the nodes, and this is the secret part. The nodes are so important, and I want to know if your sun or your moon or your rising sign is within 10 degrees of your south node or north node. And if it is, it's like, holy moly guacamole. I mean, I wanted to say something else, but it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. It is a very karmic life. If your sun is on your south node, it means you're repeating the lessons of your last lifetime, hopefully to get them right. If your sun is on your north node, it means you will have, your identity will develop in a way that your North Star, that your true north, that the evolution of your soul wants to go in. That is a very, very karmic life. It's almost like an extra boost for you to become the very best version of yourself. If your moon is on your south node, well, that tells me that you really came from emotional hardship and you are really working on love and emotions and relationships in this lifetime. If your moon is on the north node, it tells me that you will probably be an emotional angel in this lifetime in some way, like an emotional nurturer. And learning all about the moon is absolutely critical to your life. And if you have the South Node on your rising sign, well, then you should book a reading with me. That is really, really tough. And it just tells me that your last lifetime, you're really trying to work through the issues of your last lifetime. So it's very important that you look at the sun and the moon aspects to that South Node if it's on the ascendant. You might, though, have come in with past life talents that are just astounding. Like you could be a protege in some field because you're bringing in the gifts that you mastered. But life can also be exhausting by those gifts too. And if you have the North Node on your rising sign, this is a lifetime that you're going to learn a ton in. The approach that you make in this lifetime, like how you approach life, really will come from your highest best self. Leave me a comment below and let me know if you have one of these aspects. And if you've got your North Node conjunct a different planet or something, that's great. And that's important. For the purposes of this video, I really wanted to talk about the sun, moon, and the rising because those are the prominent places. The other ones are very, very important, especially if you're an evolutionary astrologer like me. Like I would gasp, if you had the South Node conjunct Pluto, I would just be like, oh my God, we have to talk about that. For the purposes of this video, I just really want you to look at the sun, the moon, and the rising. I want to tell you this other little secret thing, and that is if you were born on an eclipse. Now, how will you know? The sun and the moon would be in a new moon or a balsamic aspect. They would be conjunct, and you would have the North or the South Node in alignment with your sun and the moon. So if you have the sun, the moon, and the South Node or North Node all together within, 10 degrees of one another, really close together. So within 20 degrees or 30 degrees, you're probably born on an eclipse. If you've got the sun, the moon, and also the South Node all together, clumped together, you probably were also born on an eclipse. If the sun and the moon are together on the day that you were born, a balsamic moon or a new moon, and you also have the North or South Node right in there with your sun and moon, you are probably an eclipse baby. And that means you came in with the thunder. Yeah, you are here to rock this world and put this whole earth on its side. Yeah, you are here to change your life in a dramatic way. This is a dramatic lifetime. Now, there's one other thing. If you're born on a full moon and you have the North and the South Node on your sun and moon, doesn't matter which order, but if you're born on a full moon and you've got those nodes on your sun and on your moon, you are also born on an eclipse. And that is massively, massively karmic, and this lifetime is critical for the evolution of your soul. Now, one of the things that my gorgeous natal chart does is it shows you the days of the nearest eclipses. If you're born within 2 weeks of an eclipse, you're probably a piece of that eclipse. Yeah. Okay. The 9th step. I want to know if you are born on any of the angles. And the angles are, do you have your sun or moon on the ascendant, 10 degrees above, 10 degrees below, on the angle IC, 10 degrees before, 10 degrees after, the descendant, 10 degrees before, 10 degrees after, or the midhaven. These are the different placements. Those are the 4 major arteries of the entire astrology chart. It places, if you have your sun or your moon on one of those major arteries within 10 degrees, it places incredible importance in that house. And all of these houses have different meanings. And so you can watch my videos, my whole house series, where it's sun in the first house, sun in the second house, sun in the third house. You can learn about what the different houses mean. But if you have your sun or moon on one of those major arteries, it is extraordinarily important. It gives an extra boost to the definition of that house. So you need to know the meaning of that house. And it can be in the house before or after that line. Okay, the 10th step, and this is a little bit repetitive, but it is very important, is I want you to go look at the North Node. Watch my videos on the nodes so you can understand what is the meaning of your life? What is the purpose of your life? What are you here for? What is your soul's calling? You will find it in the North Node. And the aspects that the ruler of the North Node makes. So if you have a Taurus North Node, Venus is the ruler. What is Venus doing in the chart? By house, by sign. And then go look at the aspects that the North Node's ruler makes to your sun, your moon, and your rising. Does it come easy or is it going to take work? Remember, work is not a bad thing. Understanding your North Node is absolutely critical to understanding why are you here? Why do you exist? Yeah, those big questions. I'm going to give you a bonus tip because when I look at a chart, there's about 40 more things that I look at, but I just want to give you a place to jump off of, just at the diving board. And this is the bonus. I want you to look for major chart patterns. And major chart patterns are the grand square. So do you have 4 planets in signs that are square to one another? Remember, all mutable, fixed, or cardinal signs. Do you have a grand square? And how you can see it is by looking at the shape in the circle. Do you have a grand trine? That means you would have all 3 fire signs within aspect to one another. Not just a trine, I have a Leo sun and an Aries moon. That's a trine, but I have nothing in Sagittarius. Okay, then I don't have a grand trine. And those show the flow of your life. So if you have a grand square, your life has a lot of tension in it. I mean, you're probably a water skier. You probably do bungee jumping. You probably are a mountain climber. You do something with tension in it. And you probably have built up a great resilience in your life. The other major aspect that is absolutely critical is if you have a T-square. So that means you have one opposition in your chart with the apex is in square to 2 other planets, and it creates a T. So it has one opposition, and then it has planets square to one another. And then the very last big important aspect to look at is, do you have a lot of oppositions in your chart? Like if you have more than 4 oppositions in your chart, that's a lot. That's a tremendous amount. And write that down so you can start to understand what those major aspects bring to you, and write that down on your notes. Go back to your notes and take your gorgeous natal chart and go step by step by step. And here's what I invite you to do, okay? Do your own chart because you know yourself really, really well. But what I really want you to do is pick someone's chart that you know fairly well and work on their chart. Work on your child's chart. Work on your mother's chart. Work on your husband's chart. Work on your sister's chart. You don't even have to like the person. But when you start working on another person's chart, you start seeing it so much clearly because you can see the energies more objectively and more clearly when you're looking at another person. It's kind of fun to do your own. Put yours down for a minute and work on someone else's. I hope you guys like this video. I would love your feedback. Was this too easy? Was this too hard? If you're an advanced student already, was this too simple and you already knew everything? Was this paced perfectly for you? I know sometimes people feel like I talk too advanced, and some people feel like I'm not advanced enough and it's hard to find the sweet spot. I absolutely love that you're learning with me here. I hope you will shop in my astrology store and go get the books and resources that I promote on Amazon. If you want to go deeper, I really highly recommend you take my class online. You can click the link in the notes below and also become a member and get all my behind the scenes videos and come to my party. Last but not least, I'm having my astrology retreat and you can come learn with me for 3 days. We're going to have such a great time at the end of May. I still have tickets available and it's the cost of a 2-hour reading with me. So come and learn astrology in person with me on the Seattle waterfront at the end of May, and you can read all about it at soulnavigation.com. And I hope you are wonderful wherever you are at in the world. Please know from my house here in Seattle, I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Happy learning astrology. Bye for now.